Hello everybody, welcome to Absolute Sim Racing for the 5th round of the BSR SIM3D MX5 trophy here at the wonderful Donnington Park circuit, a track that hosts two excellent races, both club and international series here in the UK, just south of Nottingham, just by the M1. And a lot of the drivers here this evening, being British sim racers, also race in the real-life motorsport circuit. Obviously, the likes of Civic Cup champion Adam Shepherd is definitely one to watch here this evening. The cars making their way out onto the circuit for qualifying. And let us have a quick look at... I was going to say have a quick look at the championship standings, but we don't have those graphics. I have... Because, of course, the ever-wonderful Dan Handover is not joining us today. Sadly, he's feeling a little under the weather. So we've employed the services of a very, very handy broadcaster, Mike Yao, who you won't be hearing anything of today, but rest assured he is pulling all the strings in the background, keeping me on the straight and narrow, keeping on a tight leash, because sometimes I can go a little bit off the rails sometimes. But... yeah, about this Donnington Park circuit demands a lot from the drivers. High speed, elevation changes, a roller coaster ride. But it's so fun in any car you drive. We're going to be going on board with Tom Griffiths for his first flying lap of qualifying. A Tom Griffiths that missed the last round out, but are going to be trying to get his championship back on track following his absence at Imola. Just going through the Robert chicane now, trying to get on the power as early as he can, keeping the car nice and settled. You can see the car in front. That is Dave Chapman, another contender for the series, the overall standings. Get a nice toe all the way into Redgate. Corner over 90 degrees, but a wide radius, so you can carry a decent amount of speed on the power nicely, coming down the hill through Hollywood and then into the Craner curves. A fast sweeping left-hander that dips down. But in an MX5 it is easy, flat, and then a light touch the brakes, coast it in, carry the momentum through Old Hairpin and keep that speed up through Starkey's Bridge, just going through there now, flat out the Schwanz curve, getting the car nice and settled onto the left hand side of the circuit before you come into McLean's. Try an apex nice and lightly if you can to get a good run out up the hill into Coppice, one of the most important corners on the circuit. Get this right in the race. Car in front maybe makes a mistake and you can set yourself up for an excellent move down into Roberts after the Starkey straight. But look how much Tom Griffiths has gained on this last lap ahead of the cars just up. We can see Dave Chapman backing out slightly in the number 19, but Tom Griffiths sends it over the curb, carries the speed through. You can get away with quite a lot of track limits through there, as long as the car doesn't spin around and bite you afterwards where the suspension compresses back. Jasper de Court goes fastest, though that is quickly usurped by Tom Griffiths. But like we mentioned, keep your eyes out for him. Adam Shepherd goes fastest, getting a nice slipstream from Michael Seal. Let's go top of the timing sheets. Michael Seal actually fastest of the Pro-Ams with that first flying lap. So a cracking effort from the number 57, who's not had the greatest of times recently, but bouncing off of a excellent run at Imola, could be one to watch for the Pro-Am title following a rather shaky start in the first few rounds of the season. Look at that though, the time screen on the left hand side, a sea of orange. Orange means of course drivers are within half a second of their respective lap times to the cars in front. A lot of those times are actually less than a tenth of a second. It's a tenth between first and second, then another tenth back to third place, 2 tenths to fourth, and then tenths all the way down, or half tenths, tenths throughout the top 10. Following Adam Shepherd through though, he's got a clear run of track. Hopefully he hasn't been held up. You can see though, not any personal best sectors coming through, but monsters the curves, doesn't he? Through that final section, through the final chicane. It's not likely to be an improvement for Adam Shepherd as Dave Chapman does improve, goes fourth fastest. Calvin Dent with a purple middle sector though isn't able to improve on his previous time. I believe he set an invalid lap time, maybe exceeding track limits through Old Hairpin, as it is incredibly easy to do so. Following other drivers, though, there's a lot of action in this qualifying session. Adam Delmont, who's now third fastest in the 777 for Excite Racing. Adam Delmont, who has, I believe, been bumped up into the Pro Division by his own request. Now, there's a system that's in place for this season, for this championship, where drivers, should they want to or should they be deemed to by the stewards to be far and away faster than all of their competitions in their respective classes, get bumped up, or if they're a little bit slower, bumped down. So Adam Delmont has been moved up to the Pro class by his own request following some excellent performances in this early phase of the season. Craig Schill, who is actually not on circuit at the moment, he's been bumped down into the AM class from Pro-Am. And Harley Moss, after his amazing performances in the AM category, has been moved up into a Pro-Am driver. So keep your eyes open for Harley, seeing how he adapts to this new category he's been classed as. Look at the run, though, from Nick Clibbins. He's going to have a good ride out of the final corner, comes across the line. Where will this set Nick Clibbins? It's an improvement in time, not an improvement in position. He stays P9 for now. James Neve up inside the top 10, only just into 10th place, but with a lap time that is basically identical to Adam McNally. So 10th, 11th and 12th now separated as more drivers improve up the order. So the top 5 as it stands is Shepherd from Seal, from Delmont, from Griffiths, from Chapman. But that order is always set to change. We're only 6 minutes into this qualifying session. We've already seen so much action. Look at all of the cars on the circuit fighting for track position. Going to follow James Neve here, coming to the end of this qualifying lap, just coming out of Old Hairpin, trying to negotiate the traffic, and that's so difficult to get yourself in the right space on circuit for. You can have a good flying lap, but if you come across traffic, if you come across slower cars, maybe on in laps to get some fresh pair of boots on its midway stage of the session, you're going to get held up massively. So coming into McLean's, we just saw James Neve having to dive to the inside, making almost an overtaking move rather than a move for the track position. Won't be good for his lap time, unfortunately. And therefore see what he can do. A big surprise, though, is actually to see Andy McEwen in the number 4 all the way down to 22nd. As I say that, he improves up into 13th place, just coming through Redgate now. Shane Piggott just up ahead. Shane Piggott runs slightly wide, so I think he's going to get out. I know he doesn't actually. Andy McEwen backing out of this lap, allowing Adam Shepherd through. Adam, who's going to try and improve on his time, fastest in the session by a 10th, which isn't really a whole lot. But we've seen qualifying sessions in this series beaten out by thousands. So for Adam Shepherd, that could be quite a comfortable margin. We shall see, though, how this qualifying session materialises later on. You can see as well, Lars Fisher, 6th place, only a few thousandths shy of Dave Chapman for that 5th place grid spot. 2 thousandths separating 5th from 6th, 1 thousandths separating 10th from 9th. So everywhere you look, there's close battles. We're following Andy McEwen, who himself was 7 thousandths shy of Arthur Panzel. This is excellent stuff. And then again, another 1,000 separating McNally from Neve, 14th and 15th place. Everywhere you look, there's close battles, which means in this latter stage of qualifying, when there's been more rubber laid down, when the cars are getting that little bit faster, well, running the fuel slightly lighter, you're going to see the times become that much faster. It's going to be, I think, all down to who gets onto the flying lap last. You can see there Fisher trying to get out of the way through Roberts. I don't think he hampered anyone's pace. Coming into the pits now at the 8-minute mark, get a fresh set of tyres on and go for a second stint in this qualifying session. Drivers have found out over the course of the season that is the best way to get the lap times working for you. Do a few laps at the start, get your eye in, and then in the final few moments, put a fresh set of tyres on and just wring the neck of the car. Just really throw it in and go for it. Adam Shepherd now on pit exits. You can see that's exactly what he is doing. Fresh set of tyres. Keep your eyes on our provisional pole sitter because he could be going that much faster. Having a look down through the field, though, let's have a look at the AM class and the 888 of Ashley Stimpson down in 23rd place at the moment. You can see him currently on the track now. Good effort just ahead of Simon Robson and Glenn Humberston. This is going to be good, of course, for the Syntec Racing driver who's looking to try and really stamp his authority on this AM class, on this AM championship this season. He suffered a little bit of poor luck earlier on, but now into Donnington Park is a time really, I feel, for redemption for Stimson. But there's so many storylines coming into this round. We're already in the 5th round of 12 this evening, and the championship is as wide open as ever. So you can't really pay too much attention to the standings at this rate. And of course, with 2 drop rounds, even if drivers do have poor showings this evening, they can claw it back later on. Of course, you never want to make a mistake, as we've just seen from Harley Moss, who runs a little bit wide at Redgate, only a couple inches on that left-hand side, but that's all it takes. It's a circuit that is very unforgiving, as Harley has very kindly demonstrated for me just to talk about. But we'll move away from him, make sure to not shine the spotlight too much on his mistake, and then focus on Adam Delmont, who's looking to get that little bit quicker, find a 10th, maybe a 10th and a half, trying to snatch pole position from Shepherd, who's just done an outlap. So keep your eyes on the pole sitter. With 5 laps to go, he's going to be on the money. Adam Delmont now coming through Redgate. No personal best or session best sectors coming through, so unlikely to be an improvement for Delmont. Comes across the line, yet definitely not faster for Adam. Coming into Redgate now, will this be a chance? He's having to fight a little bit of oversteer, slight correction of the wheel, but he carries the momentum through, and that is the key thing. You can have a little squirrely entry, but as long as you keep the speed up and carry the car through at a good rate of knots, because the cars aren't the best accelerating, it's all about momentum conservation, which again we see through Old Hep, but a little bit of understeer creeping in. Could be maybe just the tyres not in the right window for him, as he's having to slow down all the way through as well. Starkey's bridge up the hill into McLean's. Not the cleanest of laps we're seeing from Delmont, really fighting the car. You see the quicker drivers are able just to guide the car in nicely, minimal steering inputs required. He's really having to sort of soar at the wheel on occasion, so this is not going to be good for Delmont, but there's still time in the session. You can get the car maybe looked after, coast it through on this next lap and get to the place. You can just see back marker getting out of the way into the final chicane, trying to monster his way through, shifting up slightly early as well to keep the revs down, settle the car, which is a good technique to try and learn, especially in the races when a mistake can cost you a lot more than it would do in qualifying. Running Adam Shepherd though, he's staying very happy up at the top of the timing sheets. No one's been able to beat this lap time that he set very early on, which tells us maybe the track temp's getting a little bit hotter, or the traffic's becoming more of an issue, as we see the number 85 of Craig McDonald making a mistake through Old Hairpin, maybe holding up Shepherd just slightly, but I don't think Adam ever touched the brake pedal or lifted out the throttle. He was very committed coming through there. Cleans as well up into Coppice. In real life, it's much harder than it is in the sim because of where East Midlands Airport is. When you come through there, you see planes taking off, and they can have a nasty habit of dripping a little bit of fuel, a little bit of fluid, perhaps, onto the surface. And after a nice wet day, on a wet morning, when you're coming through there, it is like ice. So Adam Shepherd is going to be grateful that that isn't the case, and it's a nice sticky sim surface for him to contend with, not like what he's used to, of course, in real life. But the 117 comes through. You can see the sector times as well. That is on the previous lap times and how he's been able to make that advantage. Going across the line now. No time coming through for Shepherd, so slight invalidation some point along the line there. But with 13 minutes on the clock, 2 minutes still to go, he's in a great spot. Andy McEwen, though, I think he was really aiming for a top 10. It hasn't quite materialised for the Year 1 Racing driver, the number 4. But there's still time in the session. He can get through another 2 flying laps, this being the first of the 2 final ones that he can complete now. And he's got good drivers to slipstream off of. Tom Griffiths, who's in 4th place, and Adam Shepherd at the front of the train, who's our pole sitter. So he's a good company. If he can get the lap time through, carry up the speed, he's sitting pretty and eventually inside that all-important top 10, especially considering he might not have expected it to, but the championship is still wide open for him. He could make a challenge because, of course, drop rounds coming into effect, even if the start to his season hasn't quite been the way he's been going. He's been hoping it would be going with incidents. So now into Roberts, really sending it through the chicane there, monstering it over the curbs, right and left, carrying the speed up. You can see Tom Griffiths coming through now on Craig McDonald. as Andy McEwen fastest through that final sector and improves up into second place. That was a monstrous run. We were saying he absolutely sent it through that final chicane. I was bigging him up, saying, come on, get into that top 10. And he's just done a little bit better. Got on up onto the front row of the grid, just ahead of Tom Griffiths. So I have to say, improved a bit as well, but not enough. That little bit of extra toe that Griffiths provided McEwen was, I think, what made that difference. This is it, though. The final lap time. We're going to focus on this, well, basically five-car train with Piggott and Shepherd, Griffiths, McEwen, and, of course, the 85 of Craig McDonald bringing up the rear to see how this shapes up. There's a bit of a wide moment there. Shepherd, he's going to have to get out of the way, not hamper up the drivers behind, because he's invalidated his lap time running a little bit too wide coming out of McLean's. Leaning on the tyres just a touch too much there, especially considering those tyres have done about 5 very fast-paced laps. This qualifying session, he's going to have to brake early, allow Andy McEwen the run through the final chicane. But Andy runs slightly too deep, too much speed taken in. That won't be enough for Andy McEwen to come through and snatch pole position. But what can Tom Griffiths do? Has Tom Griffiths got enough in the tank to get pole position? No, he hasn't. He just wasn't able to get it across the line. But this is it, the qualifying order. Adam Shepherd, that lap time was set right at the beginning of the session, was enough in the end to seal pole position. But that late charge for Andy McEwen was brilliant. You could even hear Mike in my ear gasping at how exciting that was, how much he was able to suddenly shoot up the order. And for a moment, I think both of us thought that he snatched pole. But second place will be the position Andy McEwen will be starting the first race of the evening. He'll be able to challenge into Redgate and all the way down through the Craner curves. So you want to stay tuned for this. A really exciting first race is coming up very shortly. First race of 4, just a refresh of the format if you are new to the ESR MX5 Pro Series here on Absolute Sim Racing. We have 4 races here. The first race determined, of course, by what you've just seen on circuit, the qualifying session. But then the next 3 races, races 2, 3, and 4, are all determined by the reverse grid spinning wheel that the lovely Mike will be able to bring up and spin for us when the time calls. A glamorous assistant will be getting a run out. Just you wait. Checker flag has been waved, though. All the drivers making their way into pit lane after a very exciting qualifying session, and we can now run you through the starting order for the first race. Adam Shepherd early on, that lap time of a 1 minute 17.356 was enough to take pole position. Andy McEwen, like we've just said, lining up alongside him on the front row is going to be a real recipe for excitement. Tom Griffiths on the second row and third place ahead of the fastest Pro-Am, Michael Seal. Great effort from the bench up racing driver. Adam Delmont, 5th place for him ahead of Dave Chapman, Lars Fisher, Shane Piggott, Sean Campbell and Casper de Court, who rounds out the top 10 with Calvin Dent 11th, Nick Clibbins 12th. We come down and see Arthur Pansel 13th, James Neve 14th, Nally 15th, Andy Thompson 16th ahead of Ryan Main, Craig Cockrell, Craig McDonald, James Clark in 20th place ahead of James McRitchie, Harley Moss, Sam Smith, Douglas Stewart, Ashley Stimpson, Adam Mitchkinson there, 26th place for him. And we come to, of course, Liam Stimpson, Simon Robson, Glenn Humberston, Julian Schroer, Luke Cooper, Lee Holmes, Craig Schill, Duncan Cope, Mark Oliver, and rounding out the 36 cars, a bumper grid here at Donnington Park, is Fiona Siddons for Matthews Logistics. So, what a great it was. What a qualifying session that we're still just recovering from. Adam Shepherd with the inside line into Redgate, but Andy McEwen on the outside line. There might be a slightly bit more grip there, though, because that is where the racing line tends to bend coming into Redgate. So keep your eyes on Andy McEwen from the start. Tom Griffiths as well. He's very quick off the mark. One to watch from the second row. Keep your eyes on that number 11. But the lights are coming on. The engine notes rise and we go racing here for the first time at Donnington Park. Andy McEwen with a decent start, but has to slot in behind Shepherd, who got a better run into Redgate. Hard onto the brakes. Andy McEwen's going to go to the inside to cover off a charging Tom Griffiths. But they managed to slot through single file before we come back and see well, Chapman and Fisher slightly too wide, but I think they've sorted out their differences. And then, oh my word, look at Calvin Dent going side by side with Nick Clibbins down through the Craner curves for 11th place. And the run from Tom Griffiths actually bumping, pushing Andy McEwen out through Old Hairpin. And with a little bit of understeer on cooler tyres. Obviously, no tyre blankets used. Drivers need to get the heat in the old-fashioned way, manually driving quickly, sending it through the corners and carrying up that momentum. Side by side, though, up ahead, you can see Fisher just trying to find a way through on Campbell, coming through Coppice. He's able to keep a nice tighter line to the inside. And he's going to try and win out on this occasion. You can just about see him now slotting up into 7th place. So good start from the 107, retaining 7th place grid spot. Though, of course, Kevin Dent's made up a position into 10th. We saw him a good little fight through Redgate on the opening corner. Delmont's having a bit of a charge, trying to get through up in front. And there's been a moment here for Douglas Stewart. Oh, what has happened to the Team Gonzo Racing 79? This is it now. So he's coming into the chicane. Hard onto the brakes. Oh, and just has a bit of a twitch. That's something that you can sometimes see on cold tyres. When you're hard on the brakes, the car has a tendency just to get almost the weird sort of locking effect where it twitches slightly on you. So very unfortunate to see losing out in such a way. But further in front, there's a driver trying to gain, and that's Andy McEwen around the outside into McLean's. Can he hang it through? Can he just? He's absolutely sent it on Shepherd. Great stuff from Andy. Get up into the lead of the race. And this is an Andy McEwen who is hungry, let's not forget, for his first race victory of the season. Came oh so close in the early phase of the season at the Hockenheim Ring, deprived on the last half a lap in the 3rd race. But now in the first race at Donnington, he is on a charge, sending it around the outside through McLean's. You rarely see that. But Andy McEwen shows you can do it, especially even on drivers as talented as, well, UK Civic Cup champion Adam Shepherd. Sean Campbell now coming into first corner into Redgate. Hard on the brakes, trying to sweep it around the outside. Can't find a way through, as actually Adam Shepherd has found a way back through. As we see a spinner there, Dave Chapman. Oh no, he's overcooked it slightly on the throttle. Coming out of the corner exit, maybe tapping a wheel onto the dirt as well, as we've seen drivers do all qualifying session long in the race. Has lost that. Oh no, there's a slight touch on the apex actually between himself, and I think that is Adam Delmont. So barely disappointing for Chapman to lose out on this occasion, but they're still going at it, Shepherd and McEwen. And I think Shepherd has just been able to win out this time through. So no love lost between the pair of them, even though Andy does, of course, commentate on Shepherd in real life. It might be a bit weird for Andy to be battling up in front with a driver that he knows is very capable in a real life bit of kit. Probably boosts his ego a little bit more than it probably needs to be, is our Andy. Going though into Roberts. Little look from Andy, but nothing more than look, just sizing up the opportunity should they come through instead. Focusing on the corner exit, coming down the weak cross through it into Redgate. 4 minutes gone already as Michael Seal is trying to put a move on Lars Fisher. Got a good exit out of Roberts. They've been able to seal the deal, has Michael, into 6th place. Pro-Am driver is really punching above his weight. I'm fairly certain he wouldn't mind me saying that. Just a brilliant drive from the number 57. Far and away the class of the Pro-Am field here at Donnington Park, ahead of Andy Thompson, who's down in 13th place. As Ryan Main has just gotten passed by Craig McDonald, going slow down through the Craner curves. Was all the invitation Craig needed to slot a move around the outside, then get the inside line coming through Old Hairpin. Plenty of action up in front as Adam Shepherd has had a moment. Was there a bit of contact between himself and McEwen? They were battling hard up in front. Let's have a look now. There's no contact. It's a dirty word, but we have to say it could be as such of the iRacing Netcode. We're going to have a look again just to see, but from my end that didn't look like there was any touch between the two cars. Bitly disappointing though from Adam Shepherd to lose out in this fashion. Andy McEwen, though, up into the lead of the race. From my looking, it didn't look too bad. It looked like just the smallest touches if there was, but he's slowing down. Has he got a penalty somewhere? It is netcode. It's unfortunate. It's a dirty word that we use in iRacing, but it is unfortunately part and parcel of the sim netcode. Unfortunately for Adam Shepherd, but I don't think he'll take any comfort from that fact, considering he is all the way down the order. McEwen, though, has lost out. I think there was a slowdown he accrued somewhere, maybe just a little bit too overzealous through the Roberts chicane. He's trying to come through as Fisher's just had a moment now. And he's trying to get the car moving, but I think, is that damage potentially on the front because it's not going anywhere fast? Stuck spinning around, and I think he's had to wheel back into the pits, get a tow. Oh my word, the drama has come thick and fast in the 5th minute of action. Let's have a look here of Adam Delmont. Keep your eyes on the 777X racing car. Oh, and there was a lot of things going on in the background, actually, that we just caught a glimpse of. We're going to try and go back to live pictures just for a moment and watch this fight through into the first corner. Griffiths now leads ahead of Delmont, Campbell, Seal and McEwen after dropping back from the lead of the race. Finds himself in 5th place, but with over half the race still to go, can easily make up a few places and get back up into the lead. As I say that, curses the commentator, strikes the commentator. McEwen spins it around into the first turn. What has happened here to Andy? So, in behind Michael Seal. Hard onto the brakes. Is it just a matter of touching the grass on the turn in? Yes, he does. Just runs a little bit too wide. Loops the car around. Small mistake with a big consequence for Andy McEwen. And from what was going to be a great potential race victory is sadly all come undone in the space of 2 laps. Bitterly disappointing for the number 4, but there are 4 races in total for him to try and take something back. I don't count out Andy McEwen just yet. He's up there actually with a good friend of his, Dave Chapman, so he's in good companies. Andy will be able to come back up through the order, I'm sure. Michael Seal now back of this 4-car battle for the front. Apologies for not covering all of the action through the field, but I'm sure you can forgive us because this battle for the lead has been something else. Really stunning stuff from Griffiths, Delmont, Campbell, Seal, McEwen and Chapman as well for a period up in front. Shepherd as well. Really disappointing as well. Just got to emphasise the point, that netcode incident, no driver at fault, unfortunately. That's just part and parcel of sim racing. You've just got to take it on the chin and hope the netcode befalls your rivals, but they're going too wide down through the grader curves into old hairpin. Delmont fancying an ascend up the inside, but because of that tighter line, he's compromised all the way up through Starkey's Bridge. And as they concede the position, Michael Sear is going to use this chance to take not 1, but maybe 2 places now. Is he going to do what we saw McEwen do to Shepherd, sweeping it around the outside of McLean's? He's going to go for it, but I don't know if he's going to have the advantage because coming into Coppice, it's going to be held around the outside and won't be able to come through. So, Seal is able to make 1 place on Campbell, but not any further, staying in 3rd place. But that would be a good podium for the Pro-Am, a good overall podium, I should say. He's already going to get to the top of the Pro-Am class, should this performance keep on going the way it has been so far in these first 9 minutes. Griffiths, though, leading the way, extending a margin slightly on account of good little battle we saw in the background. Seal just eyeing up a move down the inside, but can't go through as there's been a spin in the background. I think that's Holmes in 35. Oh, and he just had a slight touch on the exit, side by side with Dave Chapman. Unfortunately loses out, but when you do fight side by side through Roberts, there's always going to be some form of contact. It's all about hoping you get the luck your way and coming out on top. So that was not what we saw happen to the number 35, dropping back down through the orderly Holmes. Adam Delmont under a little bit more pressure now from Michael Seal, who's really piling it on, keeping his car up, filling the rearview mirrors. Sean Campbell has to fight to keep Shane Piggott at bay. All of this going on, of course, behind race leader Tom Griffiths, as we're saying, has had a great showing so far this season. Going to hope to keep on going, keep the momentum up as we come to a replay here of Ashley Stimpson. And oh, he just overcooks it slightly into McLean's. Oh, and there's contact on the exit. And that's not what you want to see. So tricky though when the cars are fighting as hard as they are. A little mistake. I think that was between Stimpson and McRitchie there, unfortunately. Usually in racing you could get away with a little bit of contact on exit, but I race in these Mazdas, they don't like it one bit. You cannot really get away with it. As we've evidently seen there. Adam Delmont though, second place for him, and now able to have a proper run on Griffiths once more, coming into the old hairpin. Way through though, the exit isn't quite there, isn't quite up for grabs. So then Griffiths should be able to keep the inside line, keep the racing line. It'd be a late lunge if there would be one from Adam Delmont. Thinks better of it. And for his first outing in the pro class, winning all of the season so far as a pro-am, he's definitely fitting in nicely, is Adam Delmont. 777 having a excellent showing. Could be on track for class and overall victory. Don't count out Michael Seal, the Pro-Am driver. Might also be another driver people would be calling to be bumped up with continued performances like this. I think Donington Park is just a circuit he is very strong at, Michael. Obviously a very familiar face if you are a real-life motorsport driver in the UK. Being one of the Orange Army, Michael Seal. But in the background, let's put a pin in that thought. Sean Campbell and Casper de Court come into blows into Redgate. Let's have another look at that replay just to see exactly how that all unfolded, because there's a lot of damage there to the front of Sean Campbell's car. And on a circuit like Donnington Park, where you use top end quite a lot, that's going to hurt his chances, well, definitely considerably, as Shane Piggott drops back. And the order gives the position to Sean. Let's have a little look at the overtake, but I want to see, if we can have a little glance at the incident. But I don't think we can, so let's instead focus elsewhere throughout the field. We can't find it, but it was definitely a unfortunate coming together, I feel. Just two cars fighting for the same bit of track that just wasn't coming through. But Sean Campbell, he's been a real performer this season as well, a newcomer to the BSR fold. Got his first race victory earlier on in the season. Michael Seal trying to find a way through on Delmont, but there's none forthcoming. Coming on to the second to last lap now, just started by Tom Griffiths. And he's in the best spot in the lead of the race, able to defend from Adam Delmont. Go for a replay here though of Nick Clibbins, who gets a little bit of a twitch on the exit of the chicane. Carries on, keeps his foot pinned. Credit to him for carrying it on, keeping the momentum up. Seal is really going for it though, trying to find a way through on Adam Delmont. Can't quite get there just yet. He's really wanting to send it. There's McDonald and Cockrell, I think, are going side by side now, coming out of the old hairpin. I think that Cockrell's been able to seal that 10th place spot. Yes, he has. Was close, but Cockrell able to fend off McDonald for now. Michael Lowe in that Sharp Racing livery, obviously reminiscent of another MX5 driver in this championship, Ben Sharp, who also races in the Civic Cup Trophy. There's a fair few Civic Cup drivers here. Adam Shepherd, Ben Sharp, but Ben unfortunately isn't here this evening. Michael still running though a livery very reminiscent of Ben Sharp's in real life Civic Cup car. Coming now across the start finish line to greet the white flag. It will be Tom Griffiths to lead them into Redgate for the final time in this first race. Delmont looking one way, looking the other way around the outside. Nowhere through. Going to get a late apex there and a good drive. Now all the way down the hill through Hollywood and into the crane. It goes pushing Tom Griffiths down the hill, trying to find a way through. Is he going to send a move into Old Hairpin? He's going to look to the inside. He's going to be committed on the brakes. Going to force Tom Griffiths to go wide, but the momentum is carried brilliantly from the number 11. It is Michael Seal going to fancy a bite into second place. He's going to go to the inside, but that will then become the outside into McLean's. He's trying to sweep on through, do exactly what we saw Andy McEwen do early on in the race, but there's none forthcoming. So Tom Griffiths, he's going to have a bit of breathing space now, over half a second as they round through the crucial Coppice corner. Michael with a good run though into the final chicane. He's going to have to go now or never. But Michael Seal lunge it down the inside and take second place. Delmont wasn't able to cover it off, but that's still enough to hold on to second place. Tom Griffiths though rounds out through the final chicane and will greet the checkered flag and take the race victory. Cracking stuff from Tom Griffiths, who bided his time, started from third place, let all the drama happen in front of him. McEwen and Shepherd coming to blows. He picked up the pieces, and from then on out, it was a brilliant, measured drive from the number 11, who takes that race victory so far this season. A great effort from a driver that, had he been here at the start of the season, could really have been a championship contender. We've seen like Ashley Stimpson did a lot of damage there. Unfortunately, he won't making it to the checkered flag, and then just look at the gaggle of cars battling through. Sean Campbell, I think, just able. No, he doesn't actually, loses out by the thinnest of margins to Arthur Hansel. That front end damage really hampers his acceleration and straight line speed. And that saw him drop down through the order. Unfortunate for Sean, who was a real contender for a top 10, top 5 spot. But with all of the drivers now coming through, having crossed the line, I think it is time for us to get our Glass assistant Mike to run through the reverse grid spinning wheel, which should be coming up on your screens any minute now. Here it is, and so it will spin, and we can find out what positions will be reversed for the second race. And it is a top 20 reverse grid, so we'll find 20th place in the finishing order, right into pole position, and then reverse the grid thusly. So obviously Tom Griffiths, pole sitter, well, would have been pole sitter, had the grid not been reversed, will be starting now from 20th place with a lot of ground to make up to try and gain and come through to take another podium. It's a lot of work to do, but we have seen stranger things happen this championship. And Donnington Park, as we've seen, you can overtake here. You just have to really be committed. Just seeing now, though, if there are any drivers coming through for first race interviews there. We'll give them a little bit more time. You can do so. We can run you through the finishing order, as we can now have. That is, I think, actually not the right order. That's qualifying. One sec. We'll try and get this all sorted out. Time software having a slight little bit of a hiccup with us, but eventually we can get you the reverse grid order. Here we go. Tom Griffiths. Well, what a race it was from the TJ Motorsport drive, able to take race victory. Stellar fashion. Nice measured drive from Tom. Kept his nose clean and came through for the race victory ahead of a very hard charging in that latter stage Adam Delmont. He had to settle for second place, but I think he'll be very happy on his first race in pro colours, in pro trim. Be up there with those top runners. Michael Seal, what a drive that was from the Pro-Am man, who we thought could challenge for the race victory. But again, third place was the best he could manage. Jasper DeCourt finishes fourth, ahead of Nick Clevins and Adam Shepherd after that setback early on in the race. What a fight back from him to get up into sixth place. Cracking himself from the Shepherd Motors PSR driver ahead of James Neve. Shane Piggott, obviously involved in that incident earlier on with Sean Campbell, also dropping down through the order into 8th place, finishing though ahead of 2nd place Pro-Am, 9th overall Craig Cockrell, 10th place Dave Chapman, rounds out the top 10, then Craig McDonald, who rounds out the Pro-Am podium in 11th place overall. James Clark finishes in 12th place ahead of Arthur Panzel, aforementioned Sean Campbell suffering a lot of damage, able to nurse the car home for 14th place ahead of Harley Moss, very impressive on his debut in the Pro-Am class, finishing 4th in that division, ahead of Julian Schroer, Brian Main. Simon Robson winning out the AM class in 18th place overall ahead of Adam Alley, and Duncan Cope, 20th place. Remember that, it was the reverse grid, pole position that we were able to pick out of the hat. So Duncan Cope will be starting from pole position in the second race, with Aaron Richardson just missing out in 21st. Lee Holmes, 22nd ahead of Douglas Stewart, Luke Cooper, Fiona Sims, Craig Schill, Ben Humberston and Mark Oliver. Andy Thompson 29th, Andy McEwen 30th. He seemed to suffer even further strife down in 30th place, not the race the one driver was hoping for. Sam Smith 30th place, 31st place rather, with James McRitchie 1 lap down, Ashley Simpson 1 lap down, James Simpson 1 lap down, and then non-finishing drivers finishing 2 laps down or more, finishes 7 laps down, Lars Fisher, 8 laps down, Calvin Dent. But with all of that being said and done, we can now go, I think, to a short break. We aren't seeing any drivers coming through for post-race interviews, so it's a goodbye for now, but we will be back in about 7 or 8 minutes time for the second race of the evening. Stay tuned to Absolute Sim Racing. It's one you don't want to miss. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing, and we come off the back of a very excellent first race evening. Lots of drama, lots of excitement that came through and saw Tom Griffiths take, and we have official confirmation of this, his first race victory of this 2021 Winter Series. So great stuff from Tom. Came through in stunning fashion. Just drove a very measured race, came through ahead of this man, Adam Delmont, who finished second on the road. Ahead of as well another very strong performer in the AM class of, I'm just trying to find him on the circuit. Where is he? Michael Seal. There he is. Michael Seal in the number 57. Just not out on track at that, which is why I couldn't find him. But some excellent performances. But then also other drivers that might be trying to come back with something to prove, maybe something to try and fight back for, to try and take a race victory finally for the night. Of course, Adam Shepherd suffered a huge heartbreak, didn't he, early on with that netcode incident between himself and Andy McEwen. No fault you can really place on either driver in that situation, but that's just the way it goes, and that's probably going to really set a fire up the backside of Adam Shepherd to go for broke and try and take something even more from this series. It's going to be one you really want to watch, really keep your eyes open for, so that'll cut up through the field. But as well, we now come into the race session and the grid order. Duncan Cope, pole position for the 197 Kenny Capes driver, ahead of Adam McNally on the front. Right, keep your eyes open for Adam. He is a very quick peddler. He could be a candidate for the race victory. Si Robson in third place, highest AM driver, ahead of Ryan Main on the second row. With Julian Schroer, Harley Moss, Sean Campbell, Arthur Panzel, James Clark, Craig McDowell rounding out the top 10. Dave Chapman 11th, and 12th place, I believe, before it vanished, was Craig Cockrell. We have Shane Piggott, James Neve, Adam Shepherd, Nick Clibbins, Casper DeCott, Michael Seal, Adam Delmont, Tom Griffiths, Adam Mitchinson, Lee Holmes, Douglas Stewart, and Luke Cooper. We need to run through these fairly quickly because there's a lot of cars to get through, and the grid gets underway very shortly. We've got Fiona Siddons, Glenn Humberston, Mike Oliver, Andy Thompson, Andy McEwen, Sam Smith, James McRitchie, Ashley Stimpson, Liam Stimpson, Lars Fisher, and Calvin Dent. And with that all said and done, the cars are about to get racing here this evening. Duncan Cope from pole position. What can he pull off? Is he going to get the jump on Adam McNally, who's around the outside into turn one? The lights go out. We go racing here yet again at Donnington Park. And it is a good start from Duncan Cope. He's going to be able to hold the inside line and keep McNally at bay into Redgate. Just about. Yes, he does. Into Redgate, stays ahead. There's side-by-side action, though, as we see Ryan Main try and go through, running a little bit wide in his efforts to pass Simon Robson. Could lose out there, which I think he does. Loses out Hannibal Pfister. Several drivers now dropping back through the field, down into 7th place. Not the start Ryan Main would be hoping. Dropping back 3 places. Going through old hairpin, though. You can see Julian Schroer, the 414 Gonzo racing car. Side by side with Sean Campbell, who himself is trying to come back from the setback last time out. Very hungry for success is Sean. He's already got 1 race victory to his name. Can he get a second? There's Adam Shepherd in the Shepherd Motors BSR car. Ooh, finding a way through. Just about. Ooh, it's close stuff, isn't it? Between himself and McDonald, who gets down the inside of Coppice. Gets a better run through the corner, out the corner as well. Look at this shot just behind all the cars dicing together side by side between teammates actually for 4th place, Panzel and Schroer. Panzel around the outside, winning out. Up into 4th place goes Arthur. Back into 5th place is Adam Shepherd on a real charge, motoring on through. Trying to get into 11th place, which he does after the first lap of racing. So good stuff from Adam, a big mover in these opening few laps. Really keep your eyes open for him later on in this race, as there's a little bit of bumping and barging. And there's even more bumping and barging up in front. Chapman and Robson coming together. I think, is that Clibbins as well? Because, you know, Clibbins getting through that okay. Let's have a look at the replay. Oh, and this was actually coming out of the Redgate chicane. Oh, final chicane actually, right chicane. Oh, and she's just able to keep the car going. This is back live though with James Neve. So we're seeing all sorts going on, aren't we? James Neve around the outside, then to get the inside. There's a spinner in the background. There's a huge incident. Several cars all off into the gravel on the run towards McLean's. Oh, and it all kick-started by that 5-star motorsport car off the track. Oh, Michael Seal goes wide to avoid it. Goes into the side of Nick Clibbins. The number 5 of Casper DeCourt has an incident as well. He gets involved in the crash. Unfortunately, that sends all the drivers off and usually out of the running. Really disappointing. But that's sometimes the way the race goes, especially when cars rejoin in maybe unexpected ways and catch you out on the run through corners that come thick and fast here at Donnington Park, especially on the run into the braking zones like McLean's. Of course, down into Old Hairpin. That's rife for situations like that to come to the forefront. Look at McNally up at front now, nursing a 1.5 second margin. Sean Campbell himself is under a little bit of what is it? Sean Campbell's under a bit of pressure. It's Duncan Cope under a lot of pressure here. This is it coming through Old Hairpin. And see, there's a big gain from Arthur Panzel coming through there. As they make their way now in towards Coppice. Duncan Cope has to go slightly defensive, going to the inside line to cut off the 222 of Arthur Panzel. Arthur, who's really on the move. Just showing how quick he is. Definitely no slouch behind the wheel of an MX5 is old Arthur. Now into Robert Chicane. Sending it one way, sending it the other. Oh, a little bit of a weird blink there from Panzel as Cope is very slow coming out of the corner. He's dropped back 1 place, 2 places. Could he drop back 3 and 4? He's getting out of the way of Piggott and also Shepherd. So a big moment for Duncan Cope. We've seen him drop so many places now outside of the podium. Unfortunate for the Pro-Am driver, but he's still top of his class, which is going to be a good comfort for him and his championship hopes to stay where he is currently. Doesn't want to drop any further because just behind is one of his rivals, Craig Cockrell, in the number 9 machine. They're in 8th place. See a sea of orange there as Brian Main gets ahead of Harley Moss, just about ahead of Harley Moss. Oh, and Andy McEwen fancies a chance to make things 3 wide coming underneath Starkey's bridge and up towards McLean's, but I think very wisely backs out of that manoeuvre when he sees that the next corners are fast approaching, coming into McLean's. Inside line for Harley Moss trying to fight his way through, but around the outside, a couple of wheels onto the grass goes Thompson. I think he's going to go for the move. There's action everywhere we look. We're just looking up, around, left, right, centre. Ahead, Griffiths is fancying a move on Delmont. This was the battle between the 2 cars that we saw before the race lead. Delmont this time leading through, but it is a battle now for 9th position. Griffiths really on a good charge here at Donnington. It's a track that he's gone well and is continuing to go well this evening, really showing some good pace. It's James Neve in the Matthews Logistics number 7 car, looking to go to the outside, almost making it 4 wide into the first corner. Goes Craig McMullin, sending it through, getting up into 10th place, but losing out on the exit to Tom Griffiths, who's got to get a nice bit of slipstream down through Hollywood into Carrera Curves. They're going to sort themselves out. Yes, they do. Single file. Lovely jubbly. No more drama, please, lads. My throat can only take so much screaming for tonight. As I say that, though, BSR, they always like to give us a workout in the comms box, make sure we're kept on our toes, because the action never seems to cease here at the MX5 trophy here, partnered, of course, with SIM3D and Go For The Gap. And going for the gap right now is Tom Griffiths, sending it through into 9th place. Great move there from Tom. He was committed, he was clear with his move, and that is the reason why he's been performing so well in this championship from the ones he's been able to attend. Only was here from the season start. Another driver we think could be challenging for the championship. Shane Piggott now up in behind Clark, no way through, as Adam Shepherd into the first turn he goes, attempting to find the space through on Arthur Pansley. Went very defensive into the first corner, and that's going to harm him massively now, coming through Hollywood into the Carrera Curves, dipping down now into the left-hander, sweeping his way around the outside to try and get the inside line into Old Hairpin. Shepherd on the brakes down the inside. He affords the track space, and that's all the space Panzel needs to keep the momentum around the outside. Great battle between the pair, but they need to be wary to not slow each other up too much, because very much in the picture is James Clark in that 94 car. 5th place at the moment for Clark, looking to try and find a way through. Shepherd going one way, then the other, down the inside, then back left to take the conventional racing line. A nice tight run through Coppice, the optimal line to get the inside into Roberts. But can Panzel go for it yet again, hold it around the outside? They squeeze on each other, they lean on each other into the Robert chicane, and Adam Shepherd wins out, comes through into 3rd place. Onto the podium now is Adam, and 3 seconds back from the front 2, who aren't too far from each other, but will follow these cars into Red Gate just to see this battle sort itself out. Around the outside goes Shane Piggott, has to tap on the brakes though midway through the corner, holds the car slow on exit. The inside line will then become the outside line for Panzel, but the speed is there, the run is there to try and get any sort of run into Old Hairpin, but cannot do so. We're going to go back now to the aforementioned battle up in front if we can, just because it's starting to hot up between McNally and Campbell. Adam McNally for Excite Racing really putting the pressure on Sean Campbell, trying to find a way through, but Sean Campbell, he wasn't always there. He must have overtaken Adam McNally at some stage of this race. I don't think we have a replay of it, unfortunately. Adam will be very hungry to try and get back through, to try, if he can, to get that little bit of track space down the inside and find some fortune here tonight at Donnington Park. He's already got one good result in the book. Well, not really one good result in the books. I was thinking of his teammate. He's not got any good results in the books. So he's hungry to get this even off to winning ways. But can he do so with Sean Campbell? He's such a good defender, is Sean. He's very smart with how he drives, how he manages the car through the corner. He always seems to come good towards the end of the race as well. Treats the tyres so kindly. Even in these sprint races, tyres are a concern. Some of the drivers, if you are starting to ask too much of the car, if you're overdriving it slightly throughout the corners, on corner entry particularly, which I think is where Campbell really excels because he gets such good drives out of the corners. You can see there McNally sent a lot into the corner, but Campbell coming out still is able to take the advantage. He loses a little bit of time, of course, on account of the slipstream, but in terms of the positioning of his car, the attitude that he guides it through, it just looks so nice and measured. Sean Campbell is going to be a real force to reckon with, and he's been developing race after race as well, which is another thing we've noticed of drivers coming into this championship, is how quickly they're able to adapt and learn from their competitors and get a really good handle on the MX5, a car that maybe they haven't even drove since the start, since rookies, when obviously this is the car that you're first given in iRacing as a free bit of kit, driven around free circuits, and this is bringing it to a whole nother level. Panzel and Clark now into the Robert chicane around the outside. Goes after Panzel. Does he ask a little bit too much of the curb though? Is he going to have to slow down, or has he gotten away with it? We'll find out on the run into Roberts. Panzel holding the inside line. I think, you know what, he's gotten away with it. Really on the limits of what you can do here at Donnington Park, especially through that Robert chicane. It's worked out for him. Elmont down the inside of Cockrell for 9th place. That was holding on. Clark and Panzel once more trading positions side by side down through Clark curve, or Craner curve rather, sorry, into Old Hairpin. Oh, James Clark, look at how wide he got the car on the exit, the rear end really breaking traction, but it worked out for him. He was able to keep the momentum through even with that slide, almost like a karting style of driving, hanging the rear out, but keeping the speed up, which is key. Being MX5 is all about maintaining, conserving that momentum. All the while, though, we have been noticing Adam Shepherd, lap after lap, reeling in those front two. He might be close enough on the dying embers of this race. The challenge for second, maybe even the race victory. So keep your eyes open for that 117 later on in the race. Another good performance, though, from Ryan Main. 15th place from him. He's been dropping down through the order, but he's been managing it nicely, making sure he's not been involved in too many incidents. Other drivers, though, that have been shooting up the order. I mean, Andy McEwen has gained 16 places so far this race, and other drivers like Lars Fischer, they've gained 17, so plenty of drivers showing you can overtake Eric Donnington Park, even if it's not a circuit where conventionally it's seen as a track. Overtakes come fairly easily. Hansel now in behind Clark, battle for 5th place, raging on. I think Hansel has realised it's better to wait a little while, get the tyres to cool off just a touch. As I say, that he absolutely rings the neck of the car through Old Hairpin, so that firmly proves me wrong. Coming down now, though, to look at drivers elsewhere in the field. Simon Robson, who's actually leading the AM class. Good effort, but Ryan Main slowed down even more. I think he got wide coming out of Old Hairpin. He's dropped back even further. Let's have a look at this into the first corner. Lee Holmes running wide. Going back onto the track, gifting a position to Andy McEwen, but I think that was early because Lee Holmes is now actually up ahead of Andy at this stage of the race. Coming through now, though. It's like the second to last lap. And look who's arriving on the scene. It's Campbell, it's McNally, and then just in the background, looming ever present, is Adam Shepherd. So if these two start to fight, start to squabble, you'll know who's going to come through. Our pole sitter, our driver in race 1, who was really denied race victory on account of netcode. It's going to be Adam Shepherd, who is on a charge. Don't want to miss him coming up through the field as Griffiths and Panzel start to squabble. McNally and Campbell also squabbling. I think Campbell, again, he's just so good through Old Hairpin. He keeps the car nicely through, guides it in, almost whispers to the car to get it to turn, and it just does exactly what he wants. But it's a little bit of a different line taker for Adam McNally. I thought he was going for a move, but no, he opts for a slightly earlier turning point, getting onto the curbing early as well. just hugs it through, then gets on the power when he feels comfortable and drives out. Shepherd now, though, has got that gap down to under 1 second, getting a full service of the slipstream into Roberts, and will greet the white flag, I think, firmly inside this battle for the race lead. Look at how much he gains as well through that final chicane. Another 2/10 taken out of Adam McNally. Tell you what, this is going to be very close between Shepherd if he's able to get through, get up into this fight as we start the final lap. Panzel, Delmont as well, battling close together with Tom Griffiths. So that's a battle to keep your eyes on for 6th place. But we're going to keep our eyes on the race lead for now. McNally, can he get a good run finally through Old Hairpin? Sends it through. Not quite there. He's going to get a little bit of tow, a little bit of slipstream up the hill through Starkey's Bridge and into Schwantz Curve and McLean's. Onto the brakes and needs to set up and move realistically into Coppice, getting the run through, which doesn't quite come out for him. Adam Shepherd, there you can see just too much through the corner, really chasing the time, chasing the way through. Can't make a batch, but cuts the inside of Coppice beautifully, taking the exact amount of track limits you're allowed to do in iRacing. Through, good challenge, potentially into the chicane. Look, you can just see up in front, he's looking for it, but he's not going to go into 2nd place. Adam Shepherd, he's going to have to settle for 3rd, but a podium is not too bad when you're coming all the way from the back. But Sean Campbell, Texan Spincy Athena, number 26, takes his 2nd race victory of the season. A cracking drive from Sean to take a well-earned race victory against Adam McNally, the 2nd Excite driver this evening, to take a trip to the 2nd spot of the podium, with Adam Shepherd rounding out top 3, going back brilliantly after early race 1 setbacks to get his 2nd race of the evening, finishing with a much better fashion. I think you'll definitely agree. Just going to watch Clibbins now, number 13 Syntec Pro car, who's been in the wars a little bit, dropping back 12 places since the start of the race. Not the way number 13 would have been very unlucky so far this race. Casper DeCourt as well, involved in incidents up and down the field, batting bruised front to his MX5, comes across the line in 30th place. That is all of the drivers across the line, and we can now run you through the finishing order. No, we won't run you through the finishing order. Getting carried away with myself. Spinning wheel. Got to get through the spinning wheel. Sorry about this. We'll get up onto the reverse grid spinning wheel, and then we'll be able to find out who is on reverse grid pole position. You can see it up on your screens now, and it will spin. The excitement builds as we find out, will it be a full reverse grid? Is it going to be another top 20 reverse grid? So we'll be able to run you through the finishing order and tell you who's going to be starting on pole position, who's going to be starting up towards the front of the field. Sean Campbell there, confirmation. He takes the race victory here, his 2nd race victory in what is the 2nd race of the night here at Donnington Park. Brilliant stuff from the Texan Spitzy Athena driver, ahead of Adam McNally, putting a brave stint up towards the front of the race for a little while, but wasn't able to hold off Sean, settling for 2nd place in the end, ahead of Adam Shepherd in 3rd place. Then you've got, of course, Shane Piggott in 4th, ahead of James Clark, Tom Griffiths, with Adam Delmont, Craig Cockrell, 8th place, rounding out topping the Pro-Am class, ahead of Arthur Panzel. Duncan Cope rounding out the top 10, 2nd place in Pro-Ams, ahead of Craig McDonald, 11th place, rounding out the podium in the Pro-Am division. Lee Holmes will be finishing in 12th place, ahead of a very good drive from Andy McEwen to finish in 13th place. Andy Thompson, 14th, ahead of James Neve, Lars Fisher, Luke Cooper and Ryan Main, 18th place for the other Year 1 racing driver. Michael Seal will be starting on the front row. 2nd place for Michael Seal, because Harley Moss, 20th place, reverse grid pole position. So a good effort from the driver, who has been newly bumped up as a Pro-Am driver, and will have a chance to showcase why he belongs there in the 3rd race of the evening from pole position. Adam Mitch, again, driver that misses out, unfortunately, on the reverse grid pole position. The 666 privateer driver finishing down in 21st place, some 30 seconds off of race victor. Dave Chapman as well, not having a good night, down in 22nd place ahead of Douglas Stewart, Sam Smith, Glenn Humberston, Mark Oliver, Simon Robson, and Nick Clibbins. Ashley Simpson 29th, Casper DeCourt 30th, ahead of James McRitchie, Julian Schroer, Calvin Dent, Liam Stimson, and Fiona Siddons. Around to all the cars, and obviously those drivers that finished 2 laps down or more, not scoring any points in it as well, not eligible for the reverse grid. What a race that was, though. Sean Campbell coming through to take his second race victory of the season. His first was taken in dramatic fashion late in the day at Hockenheim, but this one was a much more measured drive, a good defensive performance on display from Sean Campbell, showcasing the skills he's been able to develop in this short time in this BSR SIM3D MX5 trophy. And we'll be able to see plenty more of him and all the other drivers. There's no one coming in for a post-race interview. So here on Absolute Sim Racing, we go for another short break, but we'll be back here at Donnington Park for all the action in the third reverse grid. So we'll see Harley Moss pole position, Michael Seal in second, and Ryan Main third. Stay tuned. We'll see you all in a bit. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to... What on earth am I going on about? Absolute Sim Racing. Oh, the action has frazzled my brain. We've seen excellent racing, haven't we? Across the first two races, and we're on for another cracker here this evening at Donnington Park. We saw Sean Campbell take the race victory last time out ahead of Adam McNally in a great drive through the field. Saw Adam Shepherd come up through the order into third place. Well, the drive that was from the man who put it on pole, suffered a setback in the first race, then came back brilliantly in the second. Other drivers as well looking out for in this next race. Andy McEwen, who made up 16 places to finish 13th. He'll be starting a little bit higher up the order here on account of 20 reverse grid. Other drivers as well. Lars Fischer, he gained 18 places last race, the 107 5-star motorsport car, to get up into 16th place. So he'll be starting all the way up towards the front end, starting from 5th place on the grid. He's definitely one to watch out for as well. But Harley Moss, Michael Seal, Ryan Main, Luke Cooper will be your top 4 for this next race. And Harley Moss is definitely a driver that we'll be keeping our eyes on, seeing how well he's adapting to life in the Pro-Am class after putting in sterling performances in the Am category, far and away quickest in that division by a country mile. He's now got a bigger challenge on his hands here as a Pro-Am driver. I think so as well is during the break, and McEwen was actually very kind enough to message me and let us in on what's been going on, and he's been saying that he's been driving like he hasn't seen a wheel. He doesn't know what a steering wheel even is, apparently, the way he's been driving according to himself. But he's brushed past whatever that was and instead focus on seeing what the drivers are going to come up with here this evening. Maybe a little better than that. And McEwen, though, he's not holding up too much hope, because he did just tell me that he started from the front in race 1. And look how that went. So, optimism, Andy, if you're listening, make sure to, think on the bright side. Maybe just don't touch the grass in turn 1 and spin around and look like a fool, and you'll be all right. You'll be fine. But anyway, we've got some excellent racing to come. We're just coming towards the end of this warm-up session. The drivers are acclimatizing to the track conditions and are now getting up onto the grid here. So we should be able to hopefully run you through the starting order. Is Adam Delmont from pole position ahead of Shane Piggott, Lee Holmes, James Neve, Glenn Humberston, Douglas Stewart, Dave Chapman, Sean Campbell, Adam McNally, Nick Clibbins. Rounding out the top 10 with Andy Thompson 11th, Casper de Court 12th. Mark Oliver starting 13th ahead of Lars Fischer, Calvin Dent, Duncan Cope, Tom Griffiths, Sam Smith, Andy McEwen. Michael Seal. I'm just having a look. I'm not sure if that is the right order, because I think Andy McEwen is starting higher up. So we've got, I think, the wrong order up on our screens somehow. I'm not entirely sure what's gone on there. We'll try and quickly flash it up through there. You can see Harley Moss pole position, and then flash the next page. We've got to flash through it quite quickly because race is coming up. And the cars are getting ready now. Actually, they're going to try and catch us out here. Michael Seal from the second row. Harley Moss from pole. Michael Seal, who's been having a great turn of pace here at Donington Park, suffering some slight setbacks in the earlier races, but definitely a quick driver. Could be coming through to take a cracking result should he get through this opening lap nice and clean. Little bit of a slide on the exit is, oh my word, pandemonium, cars in the air, cars spinning around in the background. There's a big one coming into first corner into Redgate. Let's have a look at what happens. Eyes on. Oh, all of the comings together. Oh, and it all happens in front of Douglas Stewart, who takes good evasive action onto the right-hand side. But there's a car park on the exit of Redgate in this opening lap. I have no idea what on earth caused it, but it was a huge incident. Seen several drivers virtually out of the running. Nonetheless, Tom Griffiths, race 1, race victor, seemingly out of the race now. Bitterly disappointing as well. Adam Delmont, second place finisher in that first race, also out of the running. Let's have a look here. Is it just car getting a little bit overcooked on the exit, or is it coming together? There's just so much going on in the background. Cars flying up in the air. Let's follow Adam Delmont. He was a driver that was really involved in the incident, took a lot of the brunt of it. Oh, and he's the car that comes into the back of Duncan Cope. And then that just kickstarts a huge instance. The car's getting stuck together, stopping on the middle of the road. Drivers can't go one way or the other way. And unfortunately, a big pile-up ensues. Unfortunately, sorry if you heard that big bang. My housemates are having fun, apparently. We'll move along. We've got Lars Fischer up in the front of the race. Obviously to get ahead of Michael Seal. James Neve on a charge, very quick through that first sector. Keep your eyes open for the number 7. He's really battling with Harley Moss now as they come out of Old Hall. Old Hairpin into the next corner, into the right-hander of McLean's. He was going 3 wide. James Neve slipped his car down the inside and gets up into 4th place. Cracking stuff. James really does know how to switch the car on in this early stage of the race. Some drivers lose out on cold tyres, but drivers like James Neve and also Lars Fischer, who's gotten himself up into the front of the race, into the lead, really do switch the car on brilliantly and know how to manage a car when it's on cold tyres and sliding around at the rear, because it's so tricky to get a handle of. As well, though, something to remember is the track temp is a little bit hotter this session. You can see the sun's definitely brighter than it has been all evening long. That means that the track temperature starts to wear the tyres in a little bit faster. Simon Robson with a lot of damage there off the road, probably not going to take any further part in this race, unfortunately. McEwen and Thompson battling wheel to wheel through Redgate, squeezing on the exit, but Andy McEwen carries the speed, the momentum through the corner, and is able to then get the inside coming down through the sweeping into the Old Hairpin. Here he goes and is able to take 6th place. Good stuff from Andy McEwen there. Coming out on top. A bit of a huge twitch, though, from the number Thompson, who's carrying good momentum, good speed. But I don't think he's going to be able to carry the run into the next corner. No, he doesn't. So stays in behind Andy for the time being. But up in front, Lars Fischer definitely still staying strong ahead as Mark Oliver. He's had a coming together there with, I think, Ashley Stimpson. Then keeps the car in reverse, gets switched around and back up to pace. That's definitely a big moment. I think that was coming together through that final chicane, which we've seen drivers do all evening long. Back, though, towards the front of the field. It's Fischer from Seal from Cooper for the lead. And Fischer goes right over to the outside very quickly to try and stop Seal getting a little bit of toe. But down the inside, Seal is going to be committed. And he takes the position rather easily, actually. Fischer doesn't fight it at all into the first corner, and instead banks on getting the better run coming out of Redgate through Hollywood down the corner curves, but nothing working at the moment. He's going to look but not get past as we come to Andy Thompson now for Swift Cooper, the number 11, trying to go against Andy McEwen. Battle of the Andes anymore, and it'd be a mountain range out on the Donnington Park circuit. Not yet. Nobody's I don't think the drivers yet have quite reached their peak for their fights today. Andy McEwen definitely has a lot left in the tank in terms of his pace and how he can come through. They take the position now, focusing on Moss up ahead. Driver who, like we've been saying, been performing very well, very much outside his station earlier on. Now is in a category where he can close a fight with drivers of his ability for class position. And he's doing a very good job of it too, you have to say. Up in the 5th place so far, as this is Panzel just getting overtaken, I think, by James Clark, and then also getting overtaken by Adam Shepherd. Hung out to dry around the outside of Coppice. Not able to have any reply back as Andy Thompson now has a battle with Dave Chapman. And oh my word, has Andy Thompson saved it? No, he doesn't. A huge snap into all. You think he saves the oversteer, but then the car snaps to the left, spits him off into the wall, and one little mistake has really cost him, and I think that is him out of the race, unfortunately. Big damage done to the front. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime fast, but that means Andy McEwen is now up with a fight with a good old friend of his, Dave Chapman. Two of them are good mates, of course. They chat a lot, rib each other a bit as well, but it's all in good fun in the VSR paddock. It's a very good community-oriented league as Andy sends it again down the inside of Harley Moss. He gets a good run. And they're going to go 3 wide, aren't they? They are, of course. Oh, maybe not. I thought we were going to see Chapman try and fight it too wide, but 3 wide even. But I think after the incidents he's been involved in, besides discretion is the better part of valor. Instead, tries to put his car around the outside. Andy McEwen with a slowdown though, took too much, trying to get out of the way. He slows down off the racing line, which is the thing to do, but McDonald was approaching and decided to go around his left-hand side anyway and forced himself onto the grass. So sketchy stuff there with Andy McEwen serving the slowdown, but he did all he needed to do. He was off the racing line, made clear that he was going to slow down coming out of that final chicane. And thankfully there wasn't a huge crash, because that would have been disastrous should Andy McEwen and Craig McDonald came to blows there. Ooh, of a great fight. Battle's still raging on here. I tell you what, this is an amazing fight. As we're actually seeing another fight developing between Piggott and Panzel. That's coming down, about to come back up again. Piggott trying to find a way through. Coppice, the all-important corner. Should you get a good run? Should you cut the corner nicely and get a good drive out? Which seems to be the case for Shane. Actually, a very nice tight line being taken. It's one of the better lines, actually, because if you run too wide out the first part of Coppice, you can't get the car turned back in again in time for the run down this back straight into Albert Chicane. Oh, the Panzer very nicely over both curbs as we fly to the further front of the field. McDonald ahead of McEwen. Oh, and there's contact. Does McDonald move over just in the path of McEwen? Oh, and a huge shunt up the rear as Shane Piggott, and trying to take evasive action to the right, comes into the path of the two cars stuck together. And that happened oh so quickly that we didn't quite catch. Maybe not who was to blame, but certainly who was the instigator of that. Was it Andy McEwen, or was it Craig McDonald just moving over on one another? Oh, bitterly disappointing for Andy, who's, like we were saying, just not having any sort of luck today. But it's a driver that across most of this, both last season and the season before, if Andy didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck. But maybe he'd take that over this. Oh my word! How on earth did Adam Shepherd keep that car going? I thought for certain he was going to get spun around through Coppice following the contact between himself and Harley Moss. But he just kept it straight. He kept it nice and clean. Wow, oh wow, oh wow. And you know what? He's going to be able to hold on and get up into 6th place. Somehow, Adam Shepherd held that car. And I don't have the slightest clue how. That was magical wizardry alien things going on there from Adam Shepherd. But that's a sign of a driver that's definitely no slouch in IRL, showing they can do things just as good in the sim, I think, is what we've just seen there from Adam Shepherd. Dave Chapman, though, finally having a bit of good fortune, up 17 places since the start of the race, up into 5th place. Good time for car number 19 driver Lee Holmes inside the top 10. 3rd place in the Pro-Am class, battling with Casper de Court, not for class position, but for position on the road, and that is actually how the points are scored, not based on class position, but based on where you finish on the road, which gives an incentive for some of the other drivers to mix it up with inter-class battles, perhaps, which we are seeing from Lee Holmes at the moment. He's just trying to find a way through on Casper de Court, but Casper is very good at putting his car in just the right places to frustrate and maybe hold up Lee Holmes himself, as, again, another driver that when he first entered the series, wasn't necessarily his driver, but definitely in these first opening rounds, he's been really quick, on pace with some of the pro drivers, but I think it's just down to the inconsistency that's let him down on occasion, why he's stayed down in that Pro-Am class. But definitely Lee Holmes is a contender for the Pro-Am class. We'll be able to follow him throughout the remainder of the season. He's actually set a personal best lap just this time by an 18.05. Very good effort from Lee Holmes on tyres that have definitely seen a fair few laps on a track that's definitely a little hotter than the drivers are used to. I think just shy of 30 degrees at the moment out on the circuit now. Means that they have had to adapt a little, try and use the use everything to their advantage. Use their ability to get the car set up. Maybe even try a few different things in terms of car setup. Maybe A bit of anti-roll bar changes to get the car a bit more responsive on these hotter temperatures when the car is tending slightly a bit more to understeer. Definitely allows for drivers to tinker with the car a little bit here and there. Then as well, a lot of drivers actually just like to keep the same setup throughout every round of the season, have a car that they're very familiar with, not really changing it too much between rounds. As look at that send by Nick Clibbins on Ryan Main, so committed through Coppice, didn't give Main any time to think or realise what was going on, slipped it down the inside. Thank you very much, he's taken that all day long. I'll have another look of that replay, that overtake, because just look, he slides it through. It's not a late lunge, he's clear with his intention, but he just gets such a good run out of the corner. There's no chance for Ryan Main to fight it. As Smith comes into the pits, so something's gone on there with Sam Smith. Not sure what. Maybe something's happened in real life that he's had to quickly jump from. Hopefully everything's okay with Smith, either that or there's been maybe a meatball flag that he's had to come in to serve, mandatory pit stop to serve damage. So it didn't seem that way. His car was going fine. Hopefully everything is okay with Sam Smith at the moment, because he was having a very good race there. Just up into 15th place. Have a look though at this fight in the top 4. They've all closed up to one another now. Seal, Fisher, Cooper and Neve all up here now. Lars Fisher from 5-Star Motorsport, a very quick driver in his own right, able to have been taking race victories so far this season. Could be on track for another one. Michael Seal, who I don't believe has taken a race victory so far this season, so you know how hungry he's going to be to try and take something from this. You can see the opportunity as he comes onto the final 2 laps of this 3rd race. To be fair, I just noticed we are on the 3rd race. Time flies when you're commentating on Mazdas. It's certainly an evening that's provided us with excellent entertainment all throughout these first 3 races. There is still one to come though, so if you have been enjoying everything on the broadcast on Absolute Sim Racing, be sure to like, subscribe, do all that lovely fun stuff. We know you love doing it here, and we love you doing it for us, because it lets us know you're enjoying all of the racing action we can provide to you live here. Look at Cooper though, for Swift Cooper, Luke Cooper having a good drive up in the 3rd place. Ice has been all night trying to consolidate that and back home a nice well earned P3. James Clark around the outside of Harley Moss. And Harley Moss, to be fair to him, has been settling in very handily to this new Pro-Am class. We've been focusing on it a lot, but it is a big story. You're thinking maybe coming into this he was going to be a bit out of sorts, he'd not know how to adapt, but he's just been putting in the same performances, if not just a little bit better, with this elevated level of competition he's been put into. Now though, the white flag has been waved. Michael Seal greets it as he comes across the line to start the final lap of this 3rd race, ahead of Luke Cooper and actually ahead of Lars Fisher, who's right up behind him, trying to find a way through. Is he going to get a good run through the first quarter? Not quite enough to really gain, to make any sort of challenging move into the old hairpin. So Michael Seal, if he gets a good run through this corner, it's crucial for his lap. He runs slightly wide. This could be it for Michael. The pressure might have told right at the end here, as Lars Fisher is going to go for it, trying to find a way through on the inside. Michael Seal just squeezes him out of it. Lars Fisher has to lift out. Michael Seal is able to hold on for a little bit more, but the pressure is definitely telling, building for Seal. Can he hold off? Can he keep Fisher at bay? Coming into Coppice now for the final time this race. Michael Seal with a good run, but so does Lars. Lars is really on it here and could challenge into the final corner. You can see the time delta coming down now, going to dip under a 1/10 of a second as they come into the braking zone. Lars has to go for this. He can't settle for 2nd place. He wants to go for the race lead, and into the final corner they touch. Contact drama late on, and Luke Cooper's going to sweep on by, take advantage of the drama at the late stages and snatch the race victory. James Neve as well up onto 2nd place. Excellent stuff, but we're going to have a look here into the final corner just to pick apart what happened. Michael Seal, he tries to cover it off. The inside line though has been taken, and does he come across the nose, or is there just a little bit of a late half-hearted send by Lars Fisher? That could be one for the stewards to dissect post-race. The drama, well, the race is over. I think the drama will still carry on off the circuit into the night, even with one further race to go. But to tell you what, that's not going to take away from Luke Cooper He's put in a brilliant drive, and that will be as well his first race victory of the season tonight. So, more first-time winners here today. Gonna have one extra look from the chopper cam. Michael Seal around the outside. There's a slight overlap, but it's just a nose on the inside. He just leaves the car there. There's Lars Fischer. I'm not sure if that was enough commitment to say he was going for the move. But Michael Seal as well could have afforded a bit more. And let's have a look in slow motion just to pick apart exactly what happened. So into the corner, Michael Seal's turning through. That's a tricky one to call because both of the drivers at that late stage, they're never going to give up. They're both going to fight for the apex, for the corner. I think it's just part and parcel of last lap dramas here at Donnington Park. We've seen in several other racing series, but then look at Luke Cooper just coming through, having to try and keep himself out of trouble while also trying to get himself the best result. But as we see the cars come across the line now, we will be able to find out where Luke Cooper will be starting on account of the reverse grid spinning wheel that is spinning now. And it's a top 27 reverse grid. So the fourth and final race of the evening. It's a big one. It's a top 27 reverse grid. So we'll be able to see Luke Cooper starting all the way back down from 27th place. And what a race that will definitely be. You want to stay tuned because that will definitely be one you won't want to miss. Confirmation though, Luke Cooper has taken the race victory late dramatic fashion ahead of James Nee for Matthews Logistics. I believe that's be his best finish of the season as well. So cracking stuff from James, with Lars Fischer in third place for 5-Star Motorsport. Dave Chapman narrowly misses out on the podium, but with post-race scrutiny on Lars Fischer, could still inherit that podium yet. Adam Shepherd in 5th place. Good drive from the Shepherd Boats BSR driver. He's come through the field ahead of Michael Seal, who is going to be gutted to lose out. But still, some comfort is that he is the Pro-Am class victor in this third race. So still some good points banked from Michael Seal in his championship hopes. James Clark there in 7th place for Swift Cooper, finishing ahead of 2nd place in the Pro-Ams, adapting so well. Say it again, so well from Harley Moss to finish 8th overall, 2nd in the Pro-Am class. Bit of Casper DeCourt, Lee Holmes, 10th place, 3rd in Pro-Am. Then we come to Andy McEwen, finishes in 11th place ahead of Liam Stimpson, Julian Schroer, Craig McDonald, Nick Clemens, Ryan Main, who finishes 16th ahead of Arthur Pansel, Fiona Sins finishing 18th rather, and she takes the AM class victory. Also from Fiona, who's going to get her championship back on track as well now with that sort of results that she's been showing this evening. Adam McNally, 19th place for the Excite Racing driver, ahead of Mark Oliver, Sam Smith, Ashley Stimpson, Glenn Humberston, and then Craig Cockrell is actually reverse gear proposition. While we did spin out the number 27, drivers that finish 2 laps down or more are not eligible to score points or for the reverse grid. So that effectively means Craig Cockrell starts from reverse grid pole position. And essentially as well, we have a full reverse grid because so many drivers taken out in the first lap melee through the first corner on the first lap has seen them all retire. So obviously Shane Piggott out of action. So as well, Andy Thompson, Simon Robson, Douglas Stewart, Duncan Cope, Adam Mitchinson, Sean Campbell, Adam Delmont, Tom Griffiths, and Calvin Dent. But plenty big hitters there. Definitely Adam Delmont and Tom Griffiths ones to watch in the 4th and final race to see them come back up through the field. What can they do? We do actually have a chance to have an interview now. Driver coming into the post-race interview, and we can have a chat to Fiona. She's taken her AM class victory, and she joins us in the coverage box. So Fiona, congratulations. That was a exciting race for you. How was the first lap melee for you?
I came to a standstill. I totally stopped on the track, exiting turn 1 to avoid everything, and just drove on the grass round it all.
Yeah, it was definitely surprising, wasn't it, to see all of that action up unfold up ahead. But then after that point, what was the race like from you from then? Was it just about managing and trying to keep the places you gained as a result?
Yes, yeah, it's just try and do clean laps. The track was very slippery, and it was just a case of trying to control the car and hold on to what I'd got.
Yeah, and then of course with the track being a little bit hotter, I think it was something close to 30 degrees out there. Did that affect how your pace was this race?
With me, I can manage a slippery track fairly well, so the pace, although it was a little bit slower, it wasn't too much slower, fortunately for me.
Yeah, definitely. You do seem to adapt very well to these hotter circuits, and congratulations on your M class. That sets you nicely to get your championship back on track. Is that something that you were thinking of when you crossed the line?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, try and get the championship charge back on again and see if we can move forward from here.
Yeah, definitely. With a big full reverse grid, you are going to be starting from the front end of the field. Is that something that's going to play into your mind with how you approach this next race?
I'll just take it corner by corner and just try and keep out of trouble, basically.
No worries. Well, thank you very much, Fiona, for jumping into the comments box, having a word with us. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out here on the broadcast?
Yes, Roger Morton. He set up the Matthews Logistics racing, and with other commitments he's got, he has now left the team. So a big shout out to Roger. Without him, this wouldn't be possible.
And of course, Roger Morton, a familiar face in the ESR paddock from days gone. Sad to see him move on, but good to know he's still definitely part of the community.
Yeah, it's still about.
And thank you very much, Fiona. We'll let you get off and get prepared for the fourth and final race. I'm sure there's a lot to look forward to.
Yes, definitely.
And with that, Fiona exits the comments box, and we will have to go to a short break here as the next session has now been put up. The fourth and final race is upcoming here on Absolute Sim Racing. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing. I think there's a little bit of confusion actually because we've got two race sessions going on. Well, I'm in one race session, and I think the broadcast is in another one. We're not entirely sure what's going on here. There's cars in this session, but there's also cars in another, so we're not entirely sure what's going on here. There's drivers that seem to be in the right session, drivers that seem to be in the wrong one. So half of them have got up and running, and there's a big question mark actually of what's going on. There's been some errors with iRace, errors with something going on, and we're trying to figure out exactly what's happened. So forgive us while we're sorting out all the technical gremlins. There is a race going on that you can see cars going through for, but there's also another one. So we've got this race going on that's seen Mansell ahead of McDonald, ahead of McEwen, ahead of Shepherd Show. There's all sorts of action going on in the background. Then there's other drivers that are out of the race because they've left the session to go into the other one. So hopefully the message will get through to these drivers that maybe they're not in the right session because there's a second session that was put up later. And I'm not sure if the message got through to them, but we'll keep watching this just to have something to have in the background for you to talk over and for me to talk over rather. We can see plenty of drivers involved. It's slightly confusing, and because of this, we're going to come into another session where half the drivers are. So you might have to wait even longer, unfortunately, before we get into the next race, which is a little bit strange, a little bit weird. Hopefully we'll be able to get this resolved and figure out what is going on exactly. This is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. This is very strange. I mean, Adam Shepherd's having a great time of it, being in the right session or not. Only up in second place, but in a race that is not really supposed to be in. So this is very, very strange going on. But we're seeing action all around. We're seeing Schroer have a spin coming out of old hairpin, and then the next server is about to get started in their race. There's not much time left for these drivers. It's all a little bit mad. We're going to have a look now, and pictures we're seeing on broadcast, at least, of Andy Thompson, Swift Cooper Racing. Getting through. I think messages starting to get through. Some drivers are pulling off, getting out of the way. This is a replay there. Adam Shepherd and the big spin in the background. But there's racing going on in the other server as well. So things are definitely happening, and none of us are sure what's going on, really. We're going to keep on this, but more drivers are now vacating the session. There's only 4 cars out on circuit. So I think what we might have to do is go for a short technical break and come back once we've been able to maybe establish what's been going on. Apologies, everyone watching live. It's not a regular occurrence. This is definitely the strangest thing I've ever seen in my time broadcasting, and fingers crossed it's all sorted, but we'll see you all very shortly. hello everybody, welcome back to Absolute Sim Racing. Apologies for that, we do have a race on and I believe this to be the official one, and there's been a lot going on so far. Craig Cockrell from pole position has stayed in the lead of the race, ahead of Adam McNally, who's made up 4 places. Michael Seals had a charge up through the field up into 4th place, making up 11 places in this early stage, only 3 minutes in. You can see all of the chopping and changing that's gone, and something's happened on the early stages as well between Sam Smith, Liam Simpson and Mark Oliver early on. They're all out of the running out the order down the back of the field, unfortunately. But we've got still some great action. Fiona Siddons wheel to wheel with Casper de Court into the final chicane, and absolutely speeds on by, but cuts the course massively. Has to serve a slowdown. Siddons is going to come through, and that was actually, I think, Fisher that. No, it was de Court actually. Yeah, that was de Court that Siddons was in a battle with. Quite has to back all the way off, slow back down again. Hasn't been able to take that position. Just trying to keep up to date with any information coming through as to what's going on. We'll see if we can give you information as and when we get it. I don't know, Fisher trying to find a way through, and I think has now found a way through Siddons. Main though, he's definitely the main man for Cooper to try and get through past, and he's going to look now to the outside underneath Starkey's bridge and get the inside, and he goes for it, you know, so hard on the brakes, keeps the momentum through, and he takes the position. Great stuff through McLean's, and now as they come into Coppice, Sean Campbell is fancying a move around the outside of James Neve, but can't quite get it to work. Instead goes for a slight switchback manoeuvre, getting to the inside, getting a good run as well out of the corner on account of the slightly narrow line, carrying less, or having to make up less ground on the track. Then loses out on the run into chicane, missing the curb, missing the apex as well. There goes James Neve, so could be under pressure into the first turn as Siddons and Stimpson battle together. A little bit of puff of brake smoke there as the two went side by side. Fiona winning out on this occasion, holding on firm to the front of the AM class at the moment. A great battle there. Top honours in AM. Then back towards this battle. So many cars all together on the circuit. I love seeing the cars just snake their way through the Craner curves. And also I like seeing them go 3 wide, even if the drivers might not. It's scary stuff. Full brown trouser moment. New race overalls, please, as they do fight through the old hairpin to abreast. They managed to avoid contact and sort themselves out. Just going to I'm not going to repeat. We're going to follow Sean Campbell now up behind 66 of Ryan Main. You know what? He's got a good run on the social faces, just a little bit too far back to properly challenge going to the chicane. However, Neve Delmont 777, is it better than 17? Neve down the inside isn't able to take that place. So Delmont 777 aptly in 7th place, running off James Neve, the number 7. But which driver will be getting the lucky 7s out for themselves today? Who's going to come out on top between the pair of them? As what a send, Sean Campbell into Redgate, taking 5th place. Wow, that was a very nice move, nice and clean. Made his intentions clear. He's a nice, sensible driver, Sean Campbell, but he's also quick. Takes a risk when he needs to, but he calculates it, which is a good thing. Make sure that he gets positions done with a minimum of fuss. Now though, Ryan Main under pressure slightly, as Adam Delmont is going to sweep it around the outside and then try and get the inside from McLean's. He's going to be there. He's going to be able to outbrake. Yes, he does. Getting himself nice and through, nice and safely. Cracking overtake there from Delmont as Neve drops down through the order. Battling, I think, with Fisher. Something's definitely happened to James Neve. He's off the circuit. He's fallen down like a stone. That was off the exit of McLean's. He's going to go to the replay here. Oh, no, it wasn't between Fisher. It was between the number 35 of Lee Holmes. Just the two cars fighting on the exit, both going for the same bit of track. Unfortunately, those comes out a little bit worse for wear on that occasion. Now, though, into the corner, comes on through. That's up nicely. As Sean Campbell has actually set the fastest lap of the race so far, a 16.9. Brilliant lap time from Cooper. He's really on a charge, Luke, now. Trying to luke through and past Michael Seal if he can get there, but it's all about getting there first. His lap times are very quick, though, so I would expect him to close in eventually. Maybe, though, a little bit worried about the pressure from Sean Campbell, who is on a right charge. Look at that down the inside. Great stuff from Sean once more. He's just taking scalps this evening. Overtaking left, right and centre. It doesn't matter who it is. Sean Campbell wants to race him, which is great to see. And who knows, he could come through. He's already made up 16 places. What's to say he couldn't make a few more and take the race lead, you know? With 6 minutes still to go on the clock. It's almost certainly possible, especially with Cockrell and McNally close together, battling up in front. Into chances to slow each other down, squabble just a touch, and provide opportunities, not just for Campbell, but also Michael Seal, who's been looking mightily quick here at Donnington Park all evening too. I mentioned a member of the Orange Army goes around to all sorts of UK motorsport venues, and they say racing couldn't happen with the Orange Army, thankfully. There hundreds of people aren't needed to make sure racing can go ahead in the virtual world. All you need is a nice, good set of pedals, good wheel, decent PC, and also on iRacing a willingness to spend money, I think, the right way. You know, it's a lot cheaper than doing real life motorsport as iRacing, and definitely a lot more accessible. Once you get bit by the iRacing bug, though, it is a very, very dangerous affliction to get. I can definitely tell you, as can my bank account, sadly. Lee Holmes now, though, much lighter note, having a better fight this time with Casper Decourt. Casper, who's having great races, to be fair to him, on his first season in this BSR MX5 SIM3D trophy. Of course, part of the 5-star motorsport team that has last season's champion Jason Cooper on board, and I think that influence has definitely helped. But Lee Holmes making a mistake there, able to almost gift the position to Casper Decourt, who takes it with him in a fuss. And now the two teammates, Fisher and Decourt, 8th and 9th, together on the road. Are they going to swap places, or are they going to start to battle? And I think we know that what the answer is going to be. They're going to start battling, because I don't think I've ever seen team orders across any stage of the championship in this BSR series, both in seasons old, past and present. There's not ever been a time where team orders have really come through and been at least visibly displayed, as McNally and Cockrell are battling, but so was Holmes in trying to get it through on Decourt. But are we going to see Cockrell go for the move down the inside? He thinks about it, he tries to force the issue, but isn't able to get to work. And now, because he was so tight on the apex, slowed down massively to make the corner work, Michael Seal is going to go through, as will Campbell, if he can make it through around the outside. Has to brake a little bit early, though, can see the position. All of a sudden, what was, oh my word, Michael Seal yet again tagged up the rear into the final chicane. From a top position, Michael Seal just cannot catch a break. We'll have a look now at the replay. Seems fine. And is it? Oh, I don't think he was expecting car on the inside. Sean Campbell. I think Campbell might have braked just a little bit too late, carried a bit too much speed into the corner. Unfortunately, Michael Seal, he just cannot catch a break here. That same corner yet again, involved in an incident. A tap to the rear, sends him around, sends him down the order. With not long left to go in the race as well. He can still try and claw something back. He's only a few tenths behind Luke Cooper. But it's definitely not the way his race will be going. He gets up ahead now of Cooper's. Decourt and Main start to squabble, and Casper Decourt, what a move that is, sweeping it around the outside. Lee Holmes fancies run as well on account of Ryan Main's slowness on the apex to drive out of the corner, sweeping the move around the outside of Coppice, and hopefully get it nailed down for himself into the final chicane. Up though into the battle for second place, Campbell and Delmont together, as McNally is started to check out now at the front of the field in the 478. It's an Excite 1-2, and Delmont is going to try all he can to keep it that way. bumping into Redgate. Campbell on Delmont. But again, Campbell isn't going to go for. I like the little hashtag actually on the wheel arch. Little neat touch from Sean Campbell there. The other thing is you can notice on driver's livery, a little neat personable touch. But yeah, definitely Delmont needs to check his rear view mirror, especially because he's getting filled with Campbell at the moment, coming through Old Hairpin. Campbell is just so good at getting the moves done. He's knows when to go for it, knows when to back out. You can see he had the chance to send it into Redgate, thought better of it, backed out, and now bides his time. Waits to try maybe through Coppice. Get a good run. Look at how close he is. Less than a tenth of a second before coming into the braking zone. His car just looks so stably set up. Compared to all the other drivers around him that tend to fight the car on turn, and you can see they're really wrestling the car through. He guides it through. Looks after the tyres, looks after the car, looks after the brakes, which again is a key thing, looking after the brakes in these cars, because it helps you out massively into these real places where you can make the gains and lose out, as well as Moss loses out just a touch to Clibbins. We have now, though, the white flag being waved here, because I think my internet is starting to slightly suffer, I think, which is a little bit worrying. Hopefully you can all hear me just fine. McNally ahead of Delmont. Campbell close in behind. Craig Cockrell in 9th place. But look at this fight between Campbell and Delmont. Ever so close into Old Hairpin. This is it, the last chance for Sean Campbell to make a position on this lap, as we do tick over now past 15 minutes on the clock. So the checkered flag will greet the drivers next time they come across the line. The final time this evening for Sean Campbell to try and make one further overtake. He's going to go for it around the outside, forcing Delmont to go slow, maybe compromise his run up into Coppice. Squabbling together. Is the pressure going to tell? Can Delmont hold on, keep it? An Excite iRacing 1-2 from himself. And Adam McNally, who's going to lead the race. They're hugging the inside line now, hugging that right-hand side of the track. Is Sean Campbell going to try and sweep around the outside through the final corner? No, Delmont is able to defend, holding on, bumps over the curbs, but his exit is good enough to stay in front. But Adam McNally, he checked out once he got into the lead of the race, following that little squabble in behind, and took the race victory. Cracking stuff from Adam McNally, finishing just ahead of his teammate, making it an Excite 1-2. They'll be much happier with that rather than the incidents that they saw early on in the season, when they had a little bit of a habit, a little bit of tendency for bumping into one another, shall we say, a little bit of teammate collisions going on. But the main thing is they put all that behind them, and they're able to now get these results 1-2s on the board. Cracking stuff from McNally and Delmont. Sean Campbell as well, tried as he might, he couldn't get through, but still a third place. He'll be very chuffed with that, considering the evening he has been having. Also stamps his credentials as a potential candidate for the championship. So keep your eyes on that Sean Campbell entry. See what he can manage. Craig Cockrell as well. Congratulations to him for winning the Pro-Am class, coming home for a 4th place overall finish. Casper de Court, pro driver, in 5th place. Ahead of Fisher, Holmes 7th. Ryan Main 8th, rounding out the Pro-Am class. As we now see all of the drivers coming across the line. We've run you through some of the grid. We'll be able to run you through all of the grid, hopefully now. 4th race is in the books. And it was a race won by Adam McNally for Excite iRacing, ahead of Adam Delmont. Margin of almost 2 seconds. The victory, with Sean Campbell close behind Adam, but couldn't find a way through in those closing stages, try as he might. Craig Cockrell, very good 4th place finish for the Pro-Am driver, takes top honours in his class as a result. Ahead of Casper de Court, Lars Fischer, Lee Holmes 7th, which is 2nd overall in the Am class, in the Pro-Am class. Ryan Main 8th place in Pro-Am, ahead of Michael Seal, 9th. Ashley Stimpson rounding out the top 10 and top as well of the Am class. So good stuff from Ashley. Nick Clibbins 11th place, ahead of Harley Moss. Fiona Sillen 2nd place in the Am class. Good result for her, following her class victory in the 3rd race. Glenn Humberston finishing 14th overall, rounds out the Am class podium, ahead of Luke Cooper, James Neve, Sam Smith and Craig Schill in 18th place. Liam Stimpson in 20th, finishing 1 lap down, but still scoring points. However, Simon Robson, Mark Oliver not scoring any points either. So we are going to see exactly what happens with the servers and what happened with the races. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do. Maybe they will have an extra race later on in the season to make up for this. I'll tell you what, the racing, even with all of this going on, was still as great as ever. And we do have Harley Moss in the interview waiting room. Driver that's been adapting very well. We've been talking about him all night of how he's been adapting to the Pro-Am class. He joins us in the commentary box. And Harley, you've been having a very good showing here. It seems that you've adapted quite nicely to being a Pro-Am driver.
Well, I mean, we had the conversation last week about promotions and everything, and I wasn't too fond of it just because of how my AM championship hopes were looking at that point. But after today, it's gone fairly well for me. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything from this week. I was effectively racing with one arm this week. I've torn part of my bicep in my right arm, so it's been very difficult to try and keep the car under control, even in such low-powered cars.
Yeah, did you have to do any changes to your setup, perhaps? Maybe lower your force feedback, or are you running the same that you always did, just a bit more cautious on your arm?
Oh, no, I'm running about 5 force feedback. I almost have no feedback in the wheel at the moment. Literally, I'm only getting the feedback once I'm already halfway through sliding.
Fair enough. It's like you're like me driving a Logitech then, so you're in very good company. You know, you are driving a Logitech. I see. Good bit of kit. That works fine for me. Works fine for you. It seems it's very good though to see you have adapted very nicely. I remember, after Imola, you were a little bit unsure of what would happen because of your performances in the AM class, but I can tell you've adapted so well. You've brought out some excellent performances and tussling with some of the pro drivers. I think as the season goes on, you're going to find yourself getting quicker and quicker.
I mean, I hope so. I just need to be putting more practice in, if I'm honest. I should be focusing on it more, but I haven't been really focusing on any of the leagues I race in. This is sort of my main one now, just because of how great the driving is, how great everyone is in the series overall. Just if there's an incident, it's sort of, it's happened, get over it, move on. Whereas other leagues I've raced in, it goes on for days. So this is my main series. I need to put a bit more focus into it, and hopefully I can get even more results. Yeah, I'm just happy to get my first podium in Pro-Am on my first outing. I was quite happy with that.
Yeah, I think you'll find out the reason why this is my 5th season now commentating BSR MX5 Mazdas, because the sense of community is so strong. You get some excellent racing as well, and there's exciting championship battles that you could be involved in. You know, if you keep this up, you could start to even challenge for a Pro-Am title. Is that something in your mind?
I mean, I'm still, even from week 1 or 2, whenever we first spoke, I'm still just taking it race by race. It could all get thrown away in 1 week. All it takes is a week of no points, and I lose out on 300 odd points that I could gain. So, week by week, and then if it comes at the end of the season, then it's come, hasn't it?
Well, we do go in a week's time, Harley, to Silverstone Classic, the national circuit on iRacing. Is that one that you're thinking could favour you in your driving style? Hopefully if your arm's better by then.
I mean, out of all the races on the calendar, that's the one I'm least looking forward to. Not because I don't like the track, but because I haven't ever actually raced it on iRacing.
Oh, so you'll be excited to see how it works then. It's definitely a very exciting corner, especially considering it's the older Silverstone, the classic Silverstone. I think the right news from 2003, 2009. I'm trying to remember what the national circuit has. I think it is pretty much just going through Magnuson, quite similar actually to the club circuit used in the current layout. So it should be all right, to be fair.
Yeah, I know the layout fairly well. It's just a case of adapting to how these cars drive and how iRacing makes it drive, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Well, you'll certainly be able to find out in a week's time, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a day before, if you take part in the Monday series, which is something I definitely recommend if you want to get a bit more practice in, mate.
Yeah, I do need to come along. I just end up, if I'm honest, I end up sitting on FIFA on Mondays, and it gets to the time of the day, and I'm like, oh, well, I've missed it now. So.
Who knows? You might see me on track. You might see me on track on a Monday. If I have a free moment, I like to hop on and see where I match up to some of the actual quick drivers. But who knows, Ali? Thank you, though, very much for joining us. Congratulations on your great results this evening. But before we say goodbye to you and round out the show this evening, is there anybody you'd like to shout out here on the broadcast?
Same as every week, pretty much. The sequential SimSport guys and the evicted esports guys that power us each week come in here. I'm going to give a special shout out to Cody Erdman as well, the sequential owner, for creating the schemes that we run in all the series. But I am loving this MX5 scheme he's made. It's very different to everyone else on circuit. Everyone else is sort of a very linear, straight-lined kind of game, and we've just gone for the how many colours and how many different paint splatters can we throw on the car and make it look good? And I think it makes us stand out when we do get up there and on the broadcast.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to miss you, Harley. Let's put it that way. But congratulations, mate, on your excellent performances tonight. I hope you see plenty more of you next week at Silverstone.
Thank you so much, bud. Have a great night.
And with that, we did see Adam McNally in the comms box, in the interview waiting room, waiting there. But I think he's gone, so we might leave a little while just to see if he wants to come back and we can digest a very exciting evening's racing and have a look at some of the drivers that performed the best this week as well. Actually, it was this man who's just now jumped into the interview waiting room, so we can bring in, we're just going to talk about actually the performances drivers that we're making this evening. Adam, with that race victory, you are also originally the driver who's got the best points this round, 290 total to your name.
Big surprise for me. To be honest, I was expecting to be using this round as a drop score. It's a track I like, but I just really can't find the pace in. So to get a second and a first throughout the night, great results.
Yeah, it was a very good result from you, Adam. And just talk us through that final race. Obviously, you were able to win by a margin of 2 seconds, but for a lot of the race, it wasn't necessarily that easy.
I mean, I was pushing so hard, and then I just seen I got a gap. I think it was 3 laps to go from the end, crash behind. And then it was a case of just trying to manage the race, and I could see Delmont and Will catching behind. But I didn't want an incident like I did earlier on at the old hairpin where I threw it off, because I just lost the gap that I'd sort of built up. And it was just pressure on again.
Yeah, it was a very exciting though to see you, and I guess it's good for you as well as nice racing driver to get a 1-2 for the team. I think that's first of the season, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, possibly is. Like me and Delmont over the moon with the result, especially for him coming from the back to get second. Unbelievable drive. Just shows he's absolute pace round here. Especially better when you don't bump into each other, as we've seen you do a couple of times on occasion, but. Yeah, we just try to stay out the way of each other. It's strategic. I'll start at the back at one race and they can start at the back at the next.
If it works. I mean, you did have a good drive through the field, didn't you? Was it in the second or was it the first race where you drove up through the field quite nicely?
I think it was, this might have possibly been the third race. I got up to P10 and then I got spun out and dropped all the way back to P29.
What was it like though in those situations trying to overtake on a track like Donnington?
Oh, it's such a fast flowing circuit. Sometimes you have to decide whether to take the inside or the outside line just for the run. And if you get it wrong, you lose so much speed, and it's so reliant on the exit speed. You can lose 2-3 places just going for one.
Yeah, it really is difficult. But you've shown you can master the circuit after coming through and taking top honours this evening as a driver scoring the most points out of anyone this evening, Adam. So congratulations not only on your race victory, but also on that little victory for you as well, being the top driver of the night. Before we say goodbye to you, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out here on Absolute Sim Racing?
Yes, for doing the broadcast. Everyone who does the hard work behind the scenes, looking at all the penalties and all that, sorting the points. Just everyone that turns up, and of course my teammates.
Absolutely. Adam, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on your race victory and for being the top driver of the night.
Right, thank you very much.
So Adam McNally makes his way out of the comms booth. And unfortunately, after that is all the time we have this evening on Absolute Sim Racing. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. We will be back in 1 week's time for the 6th round of the SIM3D MX5 BSR Trophy at the Silverstone National, but the classic circuit. So we're going to see how the drivers can contend with a bit of a look back, a short view to the past, if you will, at the old Silverstone circuit. But it's a lovely track, and you definitely would want to stay tuned to Absolute Sim Racing for that. I've been Ed May. Joining me in the commentary trucks as a broadcaster has been Mike Yao. Big appreciation for him coming in and providing you with all of the lovely pictures here this evening and dealing with what was a very hectic fourth and final race. But of course, thank you as well for watching. Goodbye, take care, and most importantly, stay safe.